And we're live on Game Changers with me, Vicki Abelson, and my guest today is Constantine Maroulis, and he is Ulis, so hot is. Constantine, hotter than ever.
It's Constantine
Kicking ass you are.
Well,
I can't even believe you. You're doing so much in the pandemic. How are you doing this?
well, that's just my my nature. My blue collar Greek boy, born in Brooklyn, raised in New Jersey. Nature. Just I can't sit still for too long. But you look amazing. It's great to see you, Vicki, and thank you for having me. I hope you and your family are well and hanging in there during these crazy times for sure.
Right now, my mother and my brother have it.
Oh,
Escaped
wow.
it this whole time, and thank God my mother got Omicron, so it's not that terrible. She got through it in 5 days. My brother 9 days in bed, still feeling like crap. Have you
Yeah,
escaped it this whole time?
I've not. I actually I was lucky enough to be vaccinated quite early last year, February and into early March, and
is
I felt really
Constantine
great.
Maroulis.
And I got back to working pretty consistently thereafter. And then after doing a bunch of shows this summer,
Uh-huh.
I was a little worn out, and I remember doing a show up in New England, and then on the ride home, I just started feeling. I was driving myself, thank goodness,
No, yeah.
feeling like crap, heavy
Oh,
fever and chills, and I was down for a good week with a high fever
oof.
and intense fatigue, and
Oh,
certainly obviously tested positive. And but after a few days, of that, I felt pretty good. By week two, I was good, and I did a good solid 2 week quarantine where I stayed away from everyone, and then that's it. I got back to work. I've gotten boosted, and I'm working and hoping for the best.
oh my God. So you've had it twice. Did you have any?
No, just the once,
Oh, the
just the
ones,
once.
just the ones.
Mhm.
Okay. And did you have any long hauler stuff? That's what freaks me out.
No, I will say this, after both vaccination shots, I was like kind of sickish for like a day or two on the other side of both of them, and the booster as well. I was sick for the afternoon, just like I wanted to be in my robe and just lay in bed and just kind of watch Netflix. But
But I want to
thank
do that
goodness.
every day, Constantine. I can't
That's
blame it
true.
on the booster or
That's
the
true.
bossa
but
nova.
um but beyond that, no, I was pretty lucky. My sister has had some lingering effects for a while, and she's an amazing like chef level cook, and although she's a school principal, um she loves to cook, and she's really talented. She can't taste or smell
Oh,
months. It's been months, many months, nothing. To everything
no.
just tastes like crap to her. So that's weird, but hey, I'll take all of that. I lost, not to get too deep into this, but I've lost some friends along the way.
Oh,
I lost a very dear friend.
did you know Nick?
Yeah, Nick was one of my best friends. We were born on the same day. We have the same birthday, and just one of my best friends. So that was really heavy duty,
Wow.
and for sure that was
I'm
tough.
so sorry for your loss. Oh God.
Well, thank you.
I seem to recall reading your posts around the time it seems like forever ago because he got it so early,
Yeah,
and he
yeah.
was one of the first, he was like the first big star to be taken by it. And
Yeah, it was quite a
be
story, and his wife being so transparent
oh,
about it, Amanda, she's been wonderful. So,
and the fact that he was so fit, so healthy,
mhm.
and how is it going to do that to him? And yeah, that was very humbling. How has your daughter escaped it?
She has so far, and but she's been vaccinated, and thankfully we live. I live out in the burbs now. I live up
Mhm.
in North Jersey, actually where I grew up. It's a beautiful community, really nice town. We have excellent school system. They've been wonderful, and really, I'm so grateful to all the teachers and administrators, and for keeping her and her classmates so safe, and really keeping it as normal as they can. We certainly went into distance learning that late that spring, early spring of 20, and for the rest of that year. But then we came back last year in person. Come the first day of school, we had a a blip or two. There's
Mhm.
been a case or two here or there, but they've been great
Are
about
they in, is she
isolating
back
it.
in school now?
Oh yeah, yeah.
They're
She's been
in,
at school, now a year of straight year and a half.
well,
So.
some kids didn't go back because of
Mhm.
Omicron. They've kept some kids out. But okay, so how did you handle the the whole homeschooling thing? What did you do?
Well, thankfully,
Mm,
she's a great student, and she's
mm.
conscientious, and would get up every morning, get ready for school, log in, know what she had to do. She would be dressed. She was enthusiastic about it. We have great teachers. They kept it normal. Um, they would stay on top of the kids. No slacking in the Brady Bunch squares, and they
Did
would
you have to
assign.
get in there and it sounds like it was pretty organized. Did you not have to get in there and help?
No, I did not. We really were on top of it.
Nice.
Certainly at first, I think some of the teachers were like, "Man, what am I doing here?" Some of them might be a little older or something, and maybe not be savvy with putting up
Oh,
those slides and such, and to put you know their curriculum up digitally is tough. Hey,
right.
watch a video. No, and but we've been pretty lucky, and they adjusted really on the fly. And my sister is a principal nearby,
Oh,
and
wow.
I really got to see from her perspective, like how detailed, and how hard they worked all year round for these kids, and what she did for them was incredible. So I know we have a very similar school system, and just grateful for her, because they kept it as normal. And even sports, she plays travel soccer, which is year round, and we had to shut down the indoor facility, but we played outside even in the cold months. We were training outside when we could. And she plays private tennis, so there's a big dome, and they have social distancing and protocols, but thankfully she got to really keep that all rolling, and her dance and stuff. So yeah, it's been an interesting thing. I think it's only made them stronger and better, though.
I love that. I love the thought of you as soccer dad. I just
Yeah.
I can't imagine the faces of the moms when everybody shows up and you walk onto the and it's your
uh
day for snack, right? You got to do
yeah,
snack like everybody else.
orange slices, kids, here we go. um it's a great community. I look forward to seeing all the parents always. Oddly enough, Joe Judge, who just got dismissed by the New York Giants, and I'm a big fan. I've done a lot with the teams, all the local teams over the years, and I was actually probably one of the only people to really be sad to see him go. I can't imagine how difficult it's been to try to coach a team in this climate, and then the New York media and the fans and the Twitterverse just crushing his soul like daily, and the Giants really just underperforming and being injury prone, and having a young team and whatnot. But his daughter is on our soccer team,
Aha.
and she goes to excuse me, the Catholic school, and so a couple of the girls are in school with her. Now, Melena's on like the red team, and Coach Judge's daughter was on the white team, which is kind of like an A and B team, but it's all travel. It's very competitive, especially around here. People take that shit real serious. So, and so it was sad. I would see him in passing. He's a real big guy, so I was kind of sad to see. I felt I was pulling for him, but you know,
So this thing with sports and music,
yeah.
most of the musicians I know, rockers, not big with the sports. Some. When you were a kid, did the dream always start out to be a singer and actor? Was there, did you play sports? Because you're tall,
Yeah.
was that ever your thing?
Mm, I definitely played all sports my whole life growing up. I don't know, growing up in like a big Brooklyn Greek family. Like, you know, we would go to our cousins for the Super Bowls when I was young. I had all those early memories of that. And, you know, you had to pick a side. You had to be a Yankees fan or Giants and a Giants fan, or you were a Jets fan and a Mets fan. And it was just, that's just the way it was,
That's
you
right.
know?
Yeah.
And, you know, my cousins were so, all of them much older than me, but I just idolized all of them. And my cousin Gus, was a little older than my older brother. We lost him in the World Trade Center.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
He was the one, like, you got to like the Yankees. That's it. And the Giants. You don't got a choice. That's it. And I was like, all right, that's, you know, so that was a huge part of like just growing up and family and watching West Side Story together and The Wizard of Oz. And my brother is 11 years older. My sister is like 9 years older. And they were into, you know, my brother is a professional musician and artist, you know, Constantine Maroulis. He's put out, you know, dozens and dozens of albums, very different than me.
How so?
Well, he's had a myriad of different jobs in entertainment. He's worked on the label side. He's a writer.
Oh, wow.
He's been a producer. He is more of like a classic gothic, underground electronic performer.
Wow.
Yeah. Constantine Maroulis. He's been in tons of bands from Fahrenheit 451 to Spawn Ranch to Tubal Cain. He's got this new thing called Noir, and it's very cool. You know, I always loved, he introduced me to that underground, you know, and I always loved that. But of course, growing up in the MTV era, I just wanted to like hit all the high notes. And, you know, he was more like subtle and more like into David Bowie and things like that. And, you know, I wanted,
You were
a
hair
bit more.
rock, weren't you?
I mean, that certainly was my era, you know, and but I loved it all. I loved The Cure and classic rock and jazz. But I always loved show tunes, you know, and that West Side Story, and that, you know, you see the original movie poster
I'm
there.
looking at it. I just interviewed George Chakiris a couple of weeks ago. He still is amazing.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
like 87 years old. He looks 60. I mean, he's
yeah.
crazy.
He's incredible.
Did you see the new one?
Of course, of course.
Okay, so tell me what you think.
I have a bunch of friends in it. It's beautiful. It's just a beautiful film. It's so well done. I mean, Spielberg, of course, obviously nailed it. The way they fleshed out the characters,
There was a lot more story to it.
Yeah, I just loved it. And I've met Mr. Chakiris, of course. You know, he's our Greek American hero, winning the Oscar. And there were a lot of Greeks, actually, Jerome Robbins dancers in the original movie. So my mother used to point them out. A brother and sister dance team that were sort of like oddly related to. Their name is like escaping me right now. And so that was always a big influence on me, all of that stuff. And I think there's parallels with sports and what I do. I think like the teamwork and camaraderie. And once I started doing like school plays and shows, and just that process of like rehearsing the show and putting on a show, like there was nothing in the world like that. That feeling of, you know, being in it together and like putting on the show, that was just something I just knew that I always wanted to be.
Do you remember when the light went on for you? Like what that first moment was when you were like, yes, that's it. That's what I want.
Yeah. You know, watching my brother actually in West Side Story, again, it's just that recurring theme. It just was always there. He was a senior in high school, 17. So I was 6.
Right.
That's a big difference. So we would watch the movie as kids, and I remember that. And then he now was playing Bernardo.
Oh God, right? He was,
wow. And the school and the production is different than the movie, and I didn't know that. Where like, you know, there's the Dream Ballet, and Bernardo comes back, and he's killed in the Rumble, and the boys sing Officer Krupke after the Rumble, which was like, and that was different than the movie and cool. In the movie, Action sings it. In the play, Riff sings it. You know, so it was just, I was like, I remember noticing that that's different.
Right.
Wait. And then when they killed him in the Rumble, it felt real. Like I jumped out of my seat, and I was just like, that's when I felt like that chill. And circle ahead to many years, my freshman or sophomore year in high school, the same director doing West Side Story for a summer play, and I auditioned, and that was like my first kind of
who were you?
Well, I'd always gotten singing roles in like chorus in elementary school, and did like, those kind of shows at school. Those like school edition shows,
Sure.
like Magellan. And I was like, Magellan? There's a show about Magellan. And yeah, so
Somebody wants to know what high school you went to.
Ramapo High School in Franklin Lakes, New Jersey. Yeah.
There you go.
So that was it. I went in there thinking I think I was hot stuff, and I bombed in the audition. I would get very nervous. I had stage fright. I would get very nervous because I had this high singing voice, and I was nervous that people would think, I don't know, like I was, this is stupid, back then you would want them to think I'm like a girl or something or whatever. So I got up there and I was like, I'm gonna sing Maria. I'm singing a song from the show, and I'm gonna be Tony. Watch. Well, I got in there and I was like, Marie, Marie. And he was like, I know your brother, don't I? And I was like, and he's like, well, first of all, I love your brother, Ethan, and thank you for coming in. And are you busy this summer? And I was like, not really. I don't know, And he's like, well, I think you did great, and I'm so happy you came in. And sure enough, they called me later that night, and what he did was he put me in the ensemble, right? And he knew that there was something. I was just very nervous, of course. Mm-hmm. And he did the greatest thing anyone's ever done for me. He, kind of knocked me off whatever pedestal I thought I was on. I got nervous, I bombed, but he believed in me and he put me in the ensemble, and I learned from the older kids, watching from the back to the front. And then, by senior year, I had all the leads in every show and and, so I think similar to sports, you can learn from players around you. Sometimes we mix up the practices, they play with the boys. It makes you better. And you start to learn that it's not just about being the lead in the show, but there's so many integral parts of a show, backstage, front of house, so many great jobs in the community across the board. So those were very important moments for me, for sure.
Humbling. And yes, I think we should always play with people better than us, because that is how we learn. And absolutely. So was the first dream to do, was that the first dream to do theater? Like, when did rock and roll start to kick in there?
Yeah. Always loved rock and roll, singing Bon Jovi songs, like the tape, and, in my room, and like wailing those songs. I'm like, I can really sing these songs. I know I can. And,
did you study, Constantine? Did you study voice?
I didn't study voice properly and acting until I arrived at the Boston Conservatory many years later. Boston Conservatory at Berklee College of Music. I did my BFA there, musical theater, but I was a non-traditional student. When I graduated high school, yes, I started kind of doing musical theater, but also always, because it was always hard to find a singer to be in a band, right? Like, there'd be a bunch of guys that could play guitar, bass, drums, but no one could really sing, right? So I was like, I can sing. They're like, you're kind of a theater guy. And I'm like, give me that. And then I really learned how to sing in a band too. Really, like, at the same time, I had these parallel sort of things where I loved all the classic rock, and we got into the Grateful Dead and Fish and all those jam bands and the sort of psychedelic stuff and experimental music. And then I would be playing in garage bands, after school, and then going to play practice and playing basketball and just doing a little of everything. I was kind of just always a middle of the road kid. I got along with everyone, the popular kids, the burnouts, everyone in between. And after high school, I didn't really focus on my studies. I really should have. And unfortunately, I feel like it just went right. I always did well, like in my testing and stuff, but I never did the work. And that's why I'm so grateful, Milena. Like I was so motivated to make it a priority for her to take her reading and her schoolwork so seriously from early on, because I come from a long line of like scholars and stuff, and I was the one that, like, everyone went off to these fancy colleges and I was like, oh shit. So I went to school locally. I mean, William Patterson was an amazing, state school here, with an incredible music department. So I did part-time classes in the music department there. And then I got like my equity card. I was going on auditions, playing in bands.
Wait, how did you get your equity card? What was your first gig to get that?
Actually with Billy Porter, in like the late 90s, we did a production of Jesus Christ Superstar at the Helen Hayes Performing Arts Center in Nyack, New York. And it was like this full-blown Broadway production, very modern. He was Jesus. He played Jesus like this Mandela figure. Like we set it in like this South African apartheid sort of vibe. Gordon Greenberg directed it. So many great people were in it. Emily Skinner and Drew Sarich and so many people that I've stayed in. Stephen Aremus, who's like world famous music supervisor. That was like his first gig, like arranging that, like
wow.
So only thereafter did I go to Boston. I was like 22, I think, when I started. Kids were coming home from school. I had gone part-time. I had worked. I played in bands. I had good life experience. I only went away, and I did it in 3 years, but I only left at like 22, turning 23, something like that, So I was very young, a young 22, 23, but I wasn't like super young. I mean, there's kids doing amazing things now by that age for sure.
Well, you had a lot of life experience going on.
And I stress that to kids, young performers, everyone's on their own path. Like, I think if I had gone to Carnegie Mellon after college and like studied musical theater, I graduated, I was still 17 for like 6 months, well, like 5 months. And I'm born at the end of September, so it's like, I would have failed out. I would have just failed out of Carnegie Mellon. Like, there's just no doubt. I would have been like, yeah, party. And all of a sudden it'd be like Thanksgiving. And I'm like, wait, I just want to be in shows, and they're like, no, yeah, you have to do a lot of work here, idiot. So, so I was on my path, and it worked for me.
And did you have a plan? Okay, I'm going to be on Broadway. I'm going to be a rock star. I'm going to be all of those. Like, what was the dream then?
I did have a plan. My brother always taught me. He was always an independent musician, an indie musician before like indie rock was really a thing. Right. And he would always say, like, briefcase and the microphone. You have to be your best manager. You're going to be the best agent for yourself. You have to create opportunities for yourself. So I always did have a plan. I was like, okay, I'm going to go to Boston. They have a big agent showcase. And I'm going to knock it out in 3 years. I'm going to do classes at Berkeley. I'm going to do professional work in Boston. I'm going to play in bands. I'm going to get the leads in all the shows. I'm going to showcase. I'm going to go to Williamstown after I finish and be an apprentice. I thought all this shit, every summer I'm going to do something substantial. Like, I'm going to do a big equity, like, summer, stock thing. Every summer I'm going to do something cool. One summer I did Gloucester Stage Company, which was very prestigious at the time. Israel Horovitz, famous playwright, later got in weird trouble because he's, I guess, a pervert or something. I don't know. I don't know anything about that. But he is the father of one of the Beastie Boys.
What? That's right. Yes.
Yeah. Adam Horovitz. That's his son. Ad Rock. And so I worked there one summer and premiered a new play. I did, where the hell else did I work? The Seacoast Repertory Theater. I did stuff, and then I did Williamstown, so.
So you're making money. You're are you able to make a living as an artist through this period?
No, I did put myself through school. I took out loans and I had saved a lot of money. I was like hustling and doing some dumb stuff along
Did
the
you
way
do
before
day
I got
job?
to
Did you have to
Boston.
do day jobs?
Yeah, I always hustled. I mean, I've always worked since I was like 12 years old. So I
So
worked at
like, what was
nurse.
some of your, okay, yeah, day jobs? Tell us.
Yeah, well, from young age, from like 12, 13, 14 on up, I worked at a nursery, garden center in town, selling Christmas trees, doing deliveries, cleaning up, spreading mulch, landscaping, selling plants, watering, whatever it was. I did a little of everything. I was a foreman by the end. Whenever I could come home and do work, I would go there and they would pay me really well. That taught me a lot, about I don't know, kind of hard work and, working with my
Using your
hands.
hands,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. And when I got to Boston, looking back, I wish I concentrated even more on my work at school. And I spread myself out too much. I was working for this company with a bunch of the like cute boys from Boco. We would work for this company Masquerade, and we would set up these like elaborate stages and sets and parties for them and stuff. And we have to like hang around with our tie and like hair up and like just and like take them down afterwards. And and I was playing with bands and chasing girls, and I was in every show. I was like, I'm in student shows, I'm in main stage, I'm in side stage, I'm in the black box, I'm doing everything I can. Any moment I could be on stage. And then I had a plan. I'm like, I'm gonna showcase, I'm gonna go to Williamstown, I'm gonna be an apprentice, and I'm gonna be in Rent. Okay, Rent was still big, real big at the time. And that's what I'm gonna be. And that's what senior year comes, the final year, and 9/11 happens. I lose my cousin. My whole year is jacked up. I'm this girl and all of this. And so I don't showcase, I barely graduate, but I get the apprenticeship at Williamstown, which is a big deal. Everyone was there, everyone. Chris Pine and I were apprentices.
Wow.
The guy, Jeremy Strong, who just won a
Golden
Globe.
Succession,
he was an apprentice with me.
Wow.
Like everyone was there. Like Christopher Reeve was still around.
Wow.
He had his accident and he was a big Williamstown guy. Met Robert Redford and Paul Newman and like all these amazing people. Met Michael Greif there, who's the director of Rent, who directed Rent and Dear Evan Hansen and like everything cool. And he saw me in a showcase there and he cast me later on in Rent. And
That's
so all
fantastic.
of this, so I kind of put that secret thing out there and it kind of all happened. I didn't get the agent right away. I didn't graduate in 9/11. All these things happened, but I did put like a 5-year plan into place. And, I had my band thereafter and Rent. And then I'm on Rent tour. I'm living the life. I'm in Tokyo. I'm all over the world. I'm in a band. And then they're like, great job. We're not renewing your contract. So you have to go home now. And I was like, and it just all came crashing down, right? And that's when I just said, okay, I got to go back home and pick up the pieces. Back to New York, focused on the band a bit. And then right around the exact same time, this girl's like, let's go audition for American Idol. So
it's so weird that stuff happened. Okay, so now was this the girl that worked at Woodlock in the Poconos? Okay, because
she and I didn't audition together, but she was the one that I toured in Rent with, and we had this psycho love together, and I still love her very much. Leslie Diamond. We've lost touch, but she married another guy. She's got beautiful children, and she was at Woodlock, but not her. An old girlfriend from before all of that was like, let's go audition for this TV show, and I didn't even know what Idol was because I had heard of it, but I was on like Rent tour. I was at Boston. We didn't use the internet like that. Like we weren't like, oh, let me just look up this performance. Like I was working like, and if you missed it, you missed it. So they had 3 seasons just kind of flew by and I never saw one frame of it. I knew who Kelly Clarkson was. And like, you heard the names Guarini, Rubin, Clay, Fantasia, Diana DeGarmo, whatever it was, all these names at the time, the divas, which was always so racist. I thought like Jennifer Hudson and the girls, and I was like, oh, so the black girls are like the divas. Okay, cool. That's weird. But Jennifer is incredible. I've gotten to meet her ever since. And yeah, I just kind of approached it like I needed a job, you know, I needed a gig. So cool. I got there. They're like, what's your story? Camera on me right away. Like, who are you? And they had upped the age because I was a little older. I was like 28 at this time by now.
What was it before that?
It was like 24 or 25. So, you know, I finished BOCO at like 25, 26. I do like 2 years of Rent, you know, and then
did you know
like
David Malish, David, the guitar player from Rent? Was he on the tour with you then? He's done it for a million years. Guitar player, very long hair.
I know who that guy is, but no, he was not on our tour. No,
okay.
No. So yeah.
Okay, so you hear about the audition. Your girlfriend tells you about the audition. Does she make it?
No.
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 And does that impact your relationship because you did?
We weren't really like together. She was like an old girlfriend. We were cool. But it did sort of like, we didn't speak for a long time. I was like, I don't know. I got to go do this thing. Like, I don't even know. So, you know, but I knew enough where I was an actor. I knew that what I did know about it is, okay, I'm here. I look different than everyone. I'm in a leather jacket. I'm in like, you know, Doc Martens. I have, my hair was like kind of grungy with the Rent highlights still in it. And they were like, right away, camera, like, your name, what's your name? Constantine. Your name is not Constantine. I was like, yeah, my name's Constantine. And they're like, what is your story? And they're like, are you in a band? I'm like, yeah, I'm in a band. Do they know you're here? Like, are you going to quit the band? If you
okay, that was a big scandal that you
that was my story.
They hadn't told your band. I remember that was part of your audition. So
it was a big deal.
So what happened when they found out about this whole thing?
It's showbiz. It's just all showbiz, you know. So it's not show friends. It's showbiz.
Yeah. So it didn't go over real well.
It didn't, but it was still great. It was great. Like, they made drama. Hambusi's like throwing drums. You know, Nigel's there with Seacrest. They crashed my Brooklyn studio in Williamsburg. This is like before anyone's in Williamsburg. You know, right. It's like us and like all Hasidics, and and like crashed my studio. They're like, Constantine's gonna be on American Idol, and he's leaving the band. And I was like, yep. But it ended up being huge. In fact, the guys like put out a record of like our demos, Pray for the Soul of Betty. I had it right here happening. And it just was a cool thing. Like, I was loyal to them. I did a tour with them. You know, I didn't need to do any of that, and I did. And, you know, it was a great time. It was just wild. And of course I had to focus on my path, but the more famous and the more farther along I got, and the more, you know, credible things I would do would only help elevate them as well. And
of course,
I think if we ever got to really sit down and work at being a band and writing, we could have been pretty good. So, but certainly that was when the actor kicked in, and that was part of my story, you know, because otherwise if I'm just John Smith from New Jersey, who's like, they didn't even they knew I was in Rent. That was a big effing deal. They never talked about it. It was me being in the band from Brooklyn, being the bad boy. That was cool, you know, for them. And I left my band, and they pitted me and Bo and Carrie, and like that's what was to them. Me being like an actual credible actor who's in like a Pulitzer Prize winning, Tony winning musical, like the Hamilton of the time, that was like not as cool.
That's really interesting. And now that you say it, I don't think I knew back then that you were an actor. Yeah. I think I only knew that band part of the story. So, okay, so you go to audition for American Idol, you go with your friend, you both audition. Now, I met your friend Leslie when you had already that you already knew you were going to Hollywood, but she wasn't allowed to say. But
Right. Yeah.
she just gave us a lot of winks. So we knew you were we knew you were going to be on the show. But so when you find out you're going to Hollywood,
Oh, I
did
had
that
to
mean,
keep it.
did it
Well,
mean
and
anything to you? Because you
of
didn't watch the
course,
show, but you
no,
didn't
I
watch.
knew. Well, again, so okay, competitive athlete, all of this shit kicks in.
Right.
Excuse my French. All of this kicks in. You know, like you. Okay, now I'm here. Now I want to win. Now, whatever this is, I'm here to play. You know,
Mhm.
let's go. Give me the ball. Give me the rock. And so remember back then, it was otherworldly huge. I mean, 20,000 something people just came to our audition in DC. Everyone's heard
Wow.
this, all my fans, like the $10 Chinatown bus down there. We like camped out. We cut the whole line. They gave us a bracelet. So we were like insured an audition, and they moved 20,000 people through there. Like, never seen. So I was like, okay, what am I going to sing? What am I going to sing? So I went back to a song that I did at Boston Conservatory as a scene in the pop rock unit, which of course was like going to be my strength.
Right.
But I connected like the lyric. I had it had like a story. And I always loved this song because it was kind of written in a 50s kind of style where it was like, it had like that arpeggio kind of opening, and it was Crying by Aerosmith. There was a time when I was so broken hearted. Love wasn't much of a friend of mine. You know that the tables have turned, and it's like a story. It's like, oh,
and you had to do it that way. You had to do it a cappella, yeah.
A cappella, and I knew I had a good cut because so ideally you want a little verse, a little pre-chorus, and big chorus out, right? So you basically it's like 16 bars to 32 bars. You want to make your impression. I knew that going back to school, going back to audition, I needed a job. That's what it was. So by the time I got to Simon and all them, it was insane. There was all these TV lights. They were so surreal. Like they looked like versions of themselves. They had so much makeup on and stuff. And Mark McGrath, who's since become a dear friend of mine, he was a special guest from Sugar Ray.
Right.
It was really 4 judges, Paula, Randy, Simon, and Mark McGrath. And, you know, I was a little nervous, but I had already been in for it's TV magic. Like the producers had already seen me. You know, they already knew they were putting me through, man.
Oh, really?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I would think,
you're telling me it's all a fix when they're sitting there like, who's going to vote yes?
I don't know. You said that. I didn't say that. But I think that they had a hunch okay, we like this guy. We like the story. We like where this can go. Remember, you're casting a show.
Right.
Casting a show. You need one of this, sprinkle in a little of that, one of these, one of her, one of it, one of them, you know? And
but how about Simon? I mean, because Simon was the only one who went against you at that audition. Do you think that was part of the thing? Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, he's like, I just get the feeling I wouldn't want to be your neighbor. And I'm like, what does that mean? You think I'm going to burn your house down like party animal? I never even understood what that meant. I'd be playing in bands and I'd be cranking it up and you'd be complaining, that kind of thing. They were really making the character. Remember. Right. And then the premiere episode, they spent 20 minutes on my whole story. Then there was this kid, the Greek boy from Jersey, the theater kid on the band, and Seacrest. And then they show the band. And then, I mean, no one got that FaceTime. That was insane. And
Constantine, did your life change right then? As soon as Idol started to air, did your life change? I imagine it did. Okay, so
remember, back in the day, they really stretched it all out. The week I auditioned, I did get to see Simon, Paula, and Randy that week. A few days later, I had to stay in DC. They got me a hotel, and Hollywood week happened. So basically, I knew I had the golden ticket, right? So I couldn't tell anyone that.
For how long?
Oh, weeks. And then I finally hear from them, you're going to Hollywood. And there's like, 200 kids going to Hollywood. And I remember being like on a plane with another kid, and we were like trying to figure out the math, like who would make it, who's Jeff, like it was just so dumb. So then I go and do Hollywood Week, which was really intense. And even thereafter, I think they cut it to like the top 25. I couldn't say anything, and it hadn't aired yet. So the auditions, I had come back to New York to my apartment. Then the auditions start to air. My audition airs. And then there's still weeks of auditions. So my audition airs. There's all this time between the audition and when Hollywood Week starts to air. And I'm really famous at this point. Like I'm walking around New York City and people are like, holy shit. Like after one audition. After my audition. It was, that's 30 million people a night were watching it then. It was insane. So, and then when Hollywood aired and I came back home, forget about it. It was just crazy. It's not like, I mean, every day people recognize me, but there's nothing like that. That was like you were a Backstreet Boy walking around Manhattan. I mean, and I'm from around here. Like, you don't like sit around like walking around like Vinnie Barbarino, like, hey, look at me. Everybody, I'm in a full leather costume, I don't walk around like that. So you just kind of like walk around like, don't look the monkey in the eye, right? Someone taught me that real early, but it didn't matter. People were like, dude, Constantine, what the hell? So it was just nuts. It was nuts.
Wow.
And,
okay. So now, so Hollywood, so then I imagine when you get to the live shows that it's totally off the rails. I mean, I can't even imagine what it's like.
It was crazy. And, the show was still like new, and they wouldn't let me be me a lot of the time as far as choices, like I shouldn't say that. Even though it was the 4th season and like, I mean, Nigel and Ken Warwick, they were like picking out what kind of Rolls Royces they were going to get because the numbers were just crazy, right? It was nuts.
Right.
But it hadn't caught up with like the music industry in that like the Bon Jovis, the pop stars, they were like, I don't know if I want to give them my song to sing, They didn't realize the digital thing was still new. Like if I do a Bon Jovi song, even if I'm Sanjaya and I suck at it, or whatever. Sorry, Sanjaya. I'm just meaning like,
yeah, it's okay.
It would still spike my catalog, right? It
Right,
would still be big for no one really got that yet. Until I did Bohemian Rhapsody and the digital album like went up the charts again. And, we hadn't even caught up. Like now, like they'll put out the single at the same time. Like there was so much catching up. So like every time I wanted to do like this song, or I wanted to do Journey, or I wanted to do these big epic power rock opera type songs, they were like, yeah, no, that's not on the cleared list. So no one ever thought Bohemian Rhapsody would be done. It was on the cleared list, and I was like, well, I have this arrangement, and they're like, oh my god, this might just work. And sure enough, it did.
That was a life changer. No?
Yeah, like looking back, I wasn't that good on the show. Like I was more of a character, and then I had everything leading up into that moment. But it was always hard to like hear yourself. Like you get like one rehearsal with the band, you're doing like Coke commercials, they're pimping you out everywhere, you're not sleeping, I'm partying, I'm going out every night in Hollywood. Like there was no TMZ then. I was like hanging out with Leonardo and like everybody. It was nuts. Like, I'm from New York. I'm like, I know people in LA. Like they got me right into the right clubs. It was crazy. So, and I'm like 29, 28, whatever, jumping out the window of the apartment. They were, and like girls are picking me up. It was stupid, but sorry, Milena. She's like, what are you talking about? So yeah, it was a good time.
After you do Bohemian Rhapsody, it's like, now Paula stands up and says, you're the one to beat. Simon eats humble pie and says, astonishing. I mean, did things shift
oh yeah, the whole world shifted. It was just like, you could feel everything shift there. You felt it. And the calls were coming in for, like Kelsey Grammer's company, wanted to do a TV show with me. The Rock of Ages people, they had the early inception of the show kicking around. They
Oh,
wanted me, like this Broadway show, that Broadway show, this TV show, like all of those things. I was still on the show, so I was locked up. And then I just free falled off the show one week in like the top 6. I was never in the bottom 3. I came out and said something last year that all these news outlets picked up, that like, there's no way that I received, lower votes than this one or that one, except for Carrie. But, and I think I've waved the idol flag like no one has. Like, I have been the biggest advocate. I've coached kids.
right.
I've mentored on the show, all of this. And I think I might have, I don't know, finally pissed someone off, but I don't know. But it just kind of came out, and whatever. What I said was, it was great TV. If I had like finished second to Carrie or something, like BFD, that was me free falling off the show and people being like, no, that was way cooler than like getting my ass kicked by Carrie in the finale. I mean, she's like insane, otherworldly. But for me, the underdog thing played well when I developed Rock of Ages, and all of that, like kind of underdog role was huge for me.
Well, that song, the Nickelback song that you ended up doing, was
That wasn't supposed to be the song I was.
Okay, so what happened? That's what I've heard. So what was the deal with that?
U2, I was supposed to do Beautiful Day. It's a beautiful day. And I had the whole, with the lights, touch me, take me to that other place. And it was going to be like, and if you don't know, like the whole, like the iPhone commercial, with like the thing. It was going to be sick. They pulled the rights like days before. So I had to pick another song that was, because it was like songs that were in the charts. They were like brand, and like U2 was like, nope. And
wow.
So Nickelback, I was like, this is a rock song. I'll do this, fine. And it turned out, it was actually, I was kind of like, whatever, I'll be fine, And it actually was a hard song in that it's got these intervals, like, I've been wrong, I've been down, got to the bottom of every battle. Like there's some intricate little melody stuff. And I was like, and I just think maybe people were like, okay, either people were like, he's fine. The Greeks are all like, oh, it was Holy Week. That's why we were in church. Nobody voted for you because we were in church. And I'm like, all right, whatever. And it was just good TV, man. It was just good TV.
I met you the next day because the idol person that got booted off always went on Leno the next day. And my husband was writing for the Tonight Show, and my kids and I went to the green room, and you were lovely. And we got to meet you. And it didn't hurt you. 6 didn't matter, because there have been idol winners that haven't gone on to the career that you've had.
Well, I thank you, but I've always prided myself on, like, I was never going to be like some pop star, like, bye, bye, bye. That wasn't going to happen. So I wanted to turn the opportunity into something, and I wanted to create longevity and a long, slow burn, And now, I mean, we're talking 16 years later.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and like, I developed a TV show with Kelsey Grammer. ABC buys it. I'm at CAA's representing me. I'm going in for movies. Like, it was all happening so fast. I got like fat. I'd never eaten and drank so well in my life. The Rock of Ages thing slowly developed, and that sort of became my Jesus take the wheel. And obviously, really seeing that become a global brand now. Over a dozen years later,
getting a Tony nomination. I mean, Jesus, come on.
That was cool. So, and I met my daughter's mom on the show, and I wouldn't have her without that. So, she really changed my life. And, my father passed, and, he got to meet, Milena, she was like in her 2s, when he passed. So, but she was always like right there, like, taking care of him and all of this.
Aww.
So like, at least he got to know, that there was a grandchild that would live on his
Aw.
name, at least out in the universe. So good things. And it, the hustle is always continuing. Like now it's come even full circle where we're, you know, in talks to open a performing arts studio, a really significant one out here in the burbs. And,
Wow.
I have a new Broadway show I'm working on. And I think I finally typed out all these years later of like the Constantine thing, and I'm getting real like looks at film and TV that are not just like young rocker, singer, tenor, I've done a few great indie films, and for me, getting to put out an original album over the pandemic was a
I
huge deal
love
for me. It's
Try, by the way.
oh,
I
thank you,
have been
thank you.
listening to it a lot. I love it. It's wonderful. How did
Well,
you
thank you.
how did you record how did you do all of that during the
It was hard.
pandemic?
It was really
Were
hard.
you all in separate? Were you able to come together? What did you do?
A little of everything, a little of that, a little of me going to Ohio and just being safe and driving out there. Um, Hey Monet is this great uh, brother, two brothers, Nate and Dan Monet. They're great singer-songwriters. They're in a band, and they have a great studio, Little C, in Canton, Ohio. And they're on my label, this indie label I'm on, Noble Steed, and they're managed by my manager as well. So I just went up there and like locked ourselves in the studio, and we just got it done. I did some stuff remotely. I did some stuff with Static at the Noise Room locally. I had also put out a couple of the songs as singles in
Mhm.
the couple of years before those made the album. And it's a sort of boutique small album, and we already have like half the next record too. I hadn't put out a record in like a decade, so that was really fun. And I love these songs. There, I wrote them all or co-wrote them all, and sort of my love letter to rock and roll, for sure. Until I'm Wanted is the name of the album. So it's still a CD.
Okay.
You can,
So
yeah, Until I'm Wanted.
you'll send me a link so that people can order.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
there a way they can order it and have you sign it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, we used to sell hard copies through the website,
Okay.
constantinemaroulis.com. Right there. It's all on Spotify. It's on Apple Music. It's on every streaming service that you can get your hands on.
Okay,
So for
but we
sure. I
want
mean,
you to benefit from it. And I know a lot of those streaming services you get bupkis. So what's the best way for them to
well, like
buy
this
it?
weekend, I'll be at the Carteret Performing Arts Center. Beautiful theater they built down in New Jersey. I'll be there with Broadway's Rock of Ages band, like the original band from Broadway, myself, Joel Hoekstra from Whitesnake, Tommy Kessler from Blondie. We're getting together and doing all the big Rock of Ages hits in a slam-in like rock and roll show this Saturday night, the 15th, Carteret Performing Arts Center. I'll be there. I usually meet and greet in the lobby, and we sell hard copies of my album
Well, how is
there.
that working with the pandemic and everything? Do they still let you meet and greet and do that stuff
Look, I mean, it's just dependent on the
on the
on the
venue?
venue.
Mhm.
We're very well sold for the event. Everyone, I believe, has to be vaccinated. I'm not exactly sure. I know I am. I know everyone in the band is. I wear like a mask out in front, and I stay behind the merch booth, and I take pictures and I sign stuff. And look, I think for me, sorry,
Uh-oh, we lost your there you
I'm
go.
here. I'm here. For me, I just, I feel safe. I feel good. I feel like I take the precautions I need to. I'm boosted. I feel good. I've had COVID. And I gotta get back to work. I gotta live. This is what I do.
When
It
you
was a
meet and
really hard
greet,
time.
are you next to fans like unmasked and like taking pictures and stuff? You do all that and you feel
Not
okay?
quite that. Like I usually keep my mask on, or I'll do like a selfie um with their thing, and I'll sign. I'm not like hugging and kissing on everybody. And there's a little distance between us, and generally people are masked, and I feel safe. I trust the science, and I need to work. So
I understand. Dee
As
Wallace,
long
you
as
came.
they're having the show, I'm there to do my part, and as long as I can meet the fans and it's allowed, I'll do so. But look, the hard albums are sort of you know a thing of the past now, and it is
Yeah.
what it is. And but I love for people to support the album on streaming as well. And you can see, I think all my records are there, everything from Rock of Ages to my first album to other Broadway stuff. And it's usually, I don't know if the Pray for the Soul of Betty stuff I'm hoping to corral into my Spotify list, but that's been hard for some reason. I'm not sure why. I would like to go back in and re-record all the vocals on that record, and maybe I'll do that someday.
So is there anything you can tell us about the Broadway show that you kind of are cooking?
So I am going into a workshop presentation of a new show. I won't tell you the name of it, but
Okay.
it's very exciting. I'm really excited about the director, and it's sort of about the birth of rock and roll, so it's not so
Nice.
much, it's about like the inception, about Black artists not getting played on the radio early on, white artists re-recording their songs and having those songs played on the radio, the sort of birth of like the civil rights movement coming out of that. I play a significant figure in that scene. So you get to hear Chuck Berry, Little Richard, all these great songs. And woven into it is original musical theater score as well. And
Nice.
it's not a cookie cutter sort of, bio musical. I don't know if they've come up with a right word for that. Like, let's say, and I enjoy them. There's a lot of them out there. I won't name
Right.
them, but you know what I'm saying. Like these
Yes.
famous
Yes.
people,
Yeah.
X, Y, and Z. There's been a bunch of them.
Mhm.
There's also been shows like, of course, Rock of Ages, where we take existing songs and we create a completely new story using the lyrics in a unique way.
Right.
There's like American Idiot, using Green Day songs, telling a different story, or Jagged Little Pill, completely
Mhm.
different as well, using that. Or there's Tina Turner, basically telling the story of Tina Turner, right?
Right.
This is sort of a combination of all those things, and really excited. I love that era of the 50s, and I'm excited. I think it's got a lot of potential, and we'll see. We'll see. So we'll go into like a 4-week workshop on it, where we'll just open up the play, dig in, and stage numbers and work scenes, and put up some pieces of the show, have feedback. Really just a creative time, and that's what I love more than anything. Like being in the room, being at the table,
In the room where it
opening up
happens.
in the room where it happens, just like, and being like opening up the script, notes, talking about scenes, talking about character development, talking about the arch. I've produced some shows now too.
I was going to say, are you going in as a producer with this as well?
I think eventually, I'm certainly acting like one of the producers right now, and I think in if not in name, by just actions. In time, we'll sort that out. But
How
right
did
now,
you
it's just
become a
about getting the work.
producer with Spring Awakening, which the Deaf
Yeah.
West production of that changed my daughter's life. I told you last time she started learning how to sign, and she got into Tisch. Her audition was based on that, and she graduated Tisch in 3 years. She followed you. She's following your path. So,
Wow.
so
I
how
love
did
that.
you get into that? Monica Rosenthal, one of the producers of Spring Awakening. How did you get into the producing end of that? How did you get involved with that?
I just, I remember seeing the original on Broadway. I think the second or third night it was open, and just being blown away by all the actors and like the microphones. And I read the Wiedekind play in drama school, and I loved The Spring's Awakening. And, I mean, just all the artistry, everyone. So I was always interested. Michael Arden and I go back to Williamstown together. Someone approached me about it, Ken Davenport and his partners, and and I had investors interested, and I knew how to raise a lot of money. So basically, that's how it happened. You know, I've always had a knack for putting amazing people together and having it not be about me as well. I like
Mhm.
when it's about me and my work and giving, but it's even cooler to kind of be behind the scenes and like
Mhm.
see other things like that happening. I loved being a part of the marketing meetings and I getting the show reports and watching that show really succeed. And
Have you married the two yet? Have you produced and starred in something yet?
not on Broadway, not on
Mhm.
Broadway. I'm hoping this next one could be that. But I've produced some, you know, some other events and some TV things, and you know, but not a Broadway show that I've starred in. So we'll see, we'll see.
I love
But
it.
yeah,
I'm going to stay true to the time that I promised, but I have one.
okay,
That's okay. So I'm watching like Foreigner's Journey's a thing now, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah.
so tell us about that.
So yeah, I mean, coming out of this pandemic, you know, even though I had the album, it was going to be hard to just book a bunch of Constantine like solo shows with my band, and you know, I seem to have still so much interest out there for me performing the material of the Rock of Ages era. And I just,
Right.
we're just so synonymous, you know, me and that stuff. And I've toured with Steven Adler of Guns N' Roses and like all these great, you know, 80s people I've performed with. It was just simple math for me to put this show together, Foreigner's Journey, which definitely is rooted in the catalogs of Foreigner and Journey. But we do a lot of other stuff. We do Rock of
Hmm.
Ages stuff, and it's a great all-star band out of Boston, and we're playing constantly. We played big theaters. We just played the Levoy in Millville, New Jersey. You know, with me, we're starting to break into the New York, New Jersey area. I'll be with the Rock of Ages band this Saturday night, the 15th, at the Carteret Performing Arts Center. But the end of the month, I'm in Lowell, Massachusetts, and then I'm in Plymouth, Massachusetts. So everything is at constantinemaroulis.com or
Excellent.
foreignersjourney.com. Now, it's only the real Foreigner's Journey if it's with me, because there's a lot of imposters out there,
Oh,
apparently.
really?
Yeah, it's like apparently everyone's like, yeah, I'm going to do the same thing. And look, it's a big tribute show. It's a big classic rock experience, but it's got a lot of heart. I tell the stories that how the songs came together with Rock of Ages. I bring out guests. We have dancers. You know, it's a pretty incredible show. So we have a lot of shows coming up, but I'll be doing solo shows too, and getting back to acting and teaching and being a soccer dad. Milena, come here.
Come say hello. I want to see this beautiful girl. And I
She had
love,
her. Here, put this on. Put this one. She's like, oh, I'm not camera ready.
yeah.
Here, come sit
Hi,
here. Don't sit.
Milena.
Can you hear it? She's got her Long Beach Island shirt on.
It's good to meet you, Milena. I'm Vicky. Nice to meet you. You're so beautiful. I see you on Facebook. Your dad is so proud of you and he loves you so much, which you know, but those of us on Facebook get to watch it and watch you two together. And it's a beautiful thing.
Thank
How
you. Do we look alike? Do we look
so
like twins?
much. She's prettier though, but
She is. Yeah.
yeah.
Probably because of the hair, right?
Yeah. Well, the
Maybe
hair is
if
the
you didn't have long hair, it would look a little bit different.
Maybe.
no,
Yeah.
very much alike. How's school? Are you happy to be back at school?
Yes, last year, obviously, so when COVID first started, I was in third grade, and
Halfway through. Yeah.
yeah, halfway through, but just for those last few months, he was basically my teacher because we would just log on to virtual school. My teacher, my third grade teacher, would say, okay, here's your assignment for the day. And we would just log off and do it by ourselves. So school would,
Especially in the beginning, it
yeah,
would be like that. It was, you know, they were just like, we don't know how to do this yet, you know, and then
Yeah.
they really figured it out on the fly, you know.
yeah. And so we just were like trying to figure out how to do it because we were the ones who had to actually teach ourselves, and school practically ended at like 11 o'clock. But
Wow.
In the very beginning, if you
Yeah, the
remember,
very
then they would leave like independent study time, and then they would log back on. And then at one point, they came back to school, but then they would log back on in the afternoon at home.
Yeah.
It was a hybrid sort of situation. And then basically going back to now, start of fourth grade, you started in person.
yeah, so fourth grade, last year in May,
Mhm.
we went back full time because last year we were like on and off. So let's say someone in my class got exposed or got a positive test, that means we went virtual. So
Yeah.
we were virtual on and off like a lot. So when we went virtual, we still had half a day. So we ended school at 1 o'clock, had an hour break for lunch, and then came back on at like 2 o'clock for special. So we would either have like art, music, you know.
Mhm. And then she would have sports and still dance, and some of it was remote. But so it's been hard on these kids. But honestly, she's got the top math average in a very
I'm listening to
competitive.
this articulation going on over here. I'm like, wait,
She's
how old
reading
are you?
book after book, and thank gosh, and she just turned 11. She just turned 11 Christmas
Wow.
Eve. So
Gorgeous. How was it hard to not be able to play with friends? And like, were you able to do that? How did you do it? Did you do like FaceTime play dates and stuff? What'd you do?
Yeah, it was hard at first because we were completely isolated from each other, and obviously we were all like, "Oh my gosh, what is this?" And we didn't know.
And my mother is a big part of her life as well. So we had to try to keep her safe. She's, an elderly woman. She's doing great, but she, so we were nervous about that. And
Of course.
we kept a very, very small little
Bubble.
circle. So yeah, a little bubble.
Yeah.
Little bubble.
But we've navigated that. I think these kids have really grown a great deal. They wear masks at school, doesn't bother them. It's just what we have to do right now.
Do you feel like you missed anything by not having the full experience last year?
Yes, because
Oh, I'm coming back. Sorry, it's just low battery.
That's okay.
But it's still there.
Okay, we're gonna go in a
because
sec. I know we're gonna
last
lose you.
year we didn't get to do like chorus and band in fourth grade, but now a lot of the fourth graders get to have more opportunities because they're not going virtual, but we were virtual. So yeah, and they'll be able to do like the real show next year when they're in fifth grade. But
And we used to travel into the city to do dance as well, and that has not been as big a part of her life. Now they're getting back to in person a little bit on that. And believe it or not, we don't talk about this a lot, but now the world knows. I mean, she, she's an actor, and she gets, audition things that we have to put together. Sometimes it's not a big focus. It's not like a true passion. She happens to be really good at it. And so when opportunities come in, we take a look, we put some things on tape. She's done some things,
Nice.
and yeah, so that's kind of fun too. But again, it just kind of happened. Like I didn't have to chase an agent down and be a stage dad, or her mom be a stage mom about it. It just kind of organically happened. So as opportunities come in, we take a look. No big deal. But she's focused on school and sports, right?
yeah.
She's going to Yale.
I love that. I believe
No
it.
pressure.
No,
pressure.
I get that vibe. Yeah. Anyway, I
But
have
definitely,
did you see the Tender Bar, by the way? The Ben
I did see
Affleck
it,
movie?
yeah.
Well,
I
it's
just saw
all
it the
about the
other night.
mom saying my son's going to go to Yale, and he went to
That's
Yale.
why it kind of was fresh in my mind. But I do say that. And what's interesting is I work at the North Shore Music Theater. In fact, Foreigner's Journey is going to be back there coming up in the next couple of months. An amazing theater on the North Shore of Boston. And apparently they shot some things there.
Oh yeah.
Because I saw pictures on the North Shore website, but I didn't see shot in the movie. Maybe they cut that out if they use the theater, but you never know what they use in them. But
right.
I have to ask. But they had pictures of Ben Affleck there and stuff, and the movie was good. There's so much great stuff right now. Like I just binged Money Heist, which was one of the most fascinating series I've ever seen. 5 seasons in Spanish. I love watching with subtitles. that was an incredible series. Money Heist, blown away. Undercover, which is like
Excuse me.
Salud.
What's
which is in-
thank you. What's Undercover? I don't even
Oh
know
my
about
God,
this.
that's in Flemish actually. But it's like the Breaking Bad of and
Wow.
Amsterdam, but with like undercover cops, and they have like a prequel movie called Ferry, which
I'm
is
writing
about like
this
their
down.
Tony Soprano kind of character. Those were amazing. I saw The Tragedy of Macbeth last night. I thought that was fucking excuse me, it was just amazing. 105-minute edit by Joel Cohen, and Denzel was unbelievable. Everybody was. There's so much great content and great stuff out there right now, and we're rooting for Amy. Don't tell me what happened. We taped Jeopardy. We're excited for Amy on Jeopardy, and we watch Jeopardy every night. When she was a baby, she used to think Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune were the same show. That
I thought because the two hosts look very alike to me.
well, and also like it comes on like after. So when she was a kid, it was like, okay, now it's the Wheel of Fortune portion of the show. And so we love to watch together. It made sense, but at least in New Jersey and New York, they play them at 7 and 7:30. So
I love this thing happening between the two of you. It's lovely to watch. It's lovely.
and she's on Etsy. She makes arts and crafts and stuff. So you can look for Milena Makes. Milena Malena Makes Makes, and all of her cool arts and crafts. And she sold like thousands of dollars of like bracelets and pot holders and like bookmarks and stuff like that.
It's keychains, bracelets, pot holders, and bookmarks.
Yeah, so buy
I
one.
love it. Well, you know, I'm into the bling, so I'm gonna have to go
Yeah,
check
bling,
it
bling.
out. As a matter of fact, Constantine, I have to tell you, my friend Crystal goes to church with your friend, Calandra, Olivia.
Oh, okay.
And yes.
Out on the West Coast.
And yes, and she
She just got engaged.
Crystal, oh, sweet. Crystal makes my feather earrings, and I guess she makes them for Calandra too. So putting in a plug for her. Anyway, I know
You always look amazing, and that picture you posted of us, we were like just little babies then, but we still look pretty good.
Not bad. 16 years
Not bad.
later.
Not bad. I still have that Duarte shirt too. I keep everything. You should see my house. It's like I'm like a American picker.
I remember I got him like toys like I don't know 5 years ago, and he still has them box.
Oh, I don't take the box. She buys. They don't come out of the box. They stay in the box.
Stay in the box.
Yeah, but I don't want to lose you because of my phone.
Okay.
But everything and anything, ConstantineMaroulis.com, at Constantine Maroulis on Instagram, Constantine M on Twitter, Constantine M official on the Facebook. Keep the conversation going. Lots of fun shows coming up, and hopefully I can tell you more in the near future about the Broadway thing.
Looking
And
forward
hopefully
to it.
they seem optimistic that we might open this year. So in a full out production. So
I look forward to hearing
working
more.
hard.
And
Thank
I'll
you,
put
Vicki.
the link for you in the liner notes. Milena, it was wonderful to meet you. Enjoy the rest of the school year. I'm excited that you're getting to go to classes with people and playing sports and stuff. Constantine,
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure to see you. Well,
And
actually,
you
this
as
is
well.
the first time where like last time we were on the radio. I'm looking at
Face
you
to
this time.
face. I know. Here we are. But it feels
Here we
like,
are.
just yesterday I saw you last. So
There you
yeah,
go.
even if you go to the website and you go to the music stuff, you can post that link right there. It's got the whole link tree of
I will.
all the streaming and all that. So
I
enjoy.
will get that in there. Take care, you guys. Have a wonderful night. I know it's evening there. Thanks so much
Thank
for
you.
doing
Happy
this.
New Year, everyone. Be safe. We love you, and I hope to see you at a show real soon.
Take care. Thank you so much.
you.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye.